I just realized it's time. Welcome. This is Friday, April 3rd, and I will be here until Elly comes on, and then I'm going to go on mute and let her talk for half. Hey, there she is. Hi, Elly.
Hi.
So I'm going to wait for some. I need some people to come on because I have an announcement to make, and so we'll get a few people in here before I say anything.
Oh, you can't tell me real quick? Whisper.
Well, we've already started. We're already live, and we already have people here. So,
Whisper. Whisper.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I was able to send Jason an email late last night, and so he knows. And so we only have 7 people, so I'm going to wait for a few more to come. That my door is closed. Look at all these boxes I got. You know, they this happened last time I moved, where I went dumpster diving last night. Got so many boxes. I was so excited. Do you think they would use them? No, I have to buy their boxes. Oh well, that's the way it goes. And they may be done today. So we'll see how this works. Folks, I would really, really, really appreciate prayer as I travel alone cross country. I do not have time. I'm not taking time to have my car serviced. And so, I'll do it when I get to the other end. But I've set up for them to deliver on Friday to me, and hoping that'll give me a few days to figure out, someplace to park rather than just putting everything in storage. The way they're packing the truck is amazing. All I can do is say, I hope they're paying attention to the fragile on the side of the box, and that I don't end up with all my china in pieces. You know what I mean? Anyway, they have, I have to pay for them to wrap everything. Didn't realize it was an extra fee. I was told that they would do that, and I didn't know there was an upcharge. So, if I had known, I probably would have gone with the more expensive company who had a cap. And so they did not disclose adequately. All right, we've got 22 people here. So I did get to talk to Larry yesterday. I thought you guys would like to hear that. Now, he would say he's feeling puny. He sounded puny because he was talking like this, and it was really hard to hear him and hard to understand him. He couldn't be on the phone long because somebody was coming to do whatever they were coming to do. He knows I'm coming. He knows. Anyhow, I told him I'm nobody's allowed to visit. All visitors are banned. Somebody who lives on the southeast side of Little Rock went by his house the other day. The lights were on. He did go to the door, and there was no answer. But Larry knows him, but his wife does not know him. So I'm sure seeing a man at the door, she wasn't going to answer. So both cars were there. So, they were, he was sure somebody was, well, I don't know if it was one car or two. I can't remember if he said car or cars, but he was sure somebody was there. Anyhow, let's see what else he said. He apologized. He said, I messed myself up really badly. And I know he didn't do this. I've got a spider climbing the wall, and I know what those spiders' bites feel like. And I guess I'm just going to watch it. Anyhow, there's not much stuff left in the house. They are doing an absolute amazing job with packing the truck today. They've got 2 26-footers, and we'll see how much gets in. I believe you, Sherry, that Fauci is plotting against the president. He is so deep state. He is so in love with Hillary. Apparently, used to send her love letters, which is like that's just mind-boggling, But it's just the evil. Now there's a little bit of stuff I want to tell you. I heard a show last night that I listen to on a regular basis. Paul Begley or Paul Begley Prophecy. That's B as in boy, E-G as in George, L-E-Y, Paul Begley. If you listen to him Thursday nights at 10 Eastern, 9 Central, Mike from around the world is on the show with him. Mike, I believe, works for NASA. I'm not positive. I think he does. He knows what NASA knows. And I've told you the information I've told you about what's happening with the asteroids and so on has come from him. And he's going to be on again next Thursday night. There is a huge asteroid that may hit the Earth April 29th. Like I told you, we're going through an asteroid belt, a debris field. The rock, look at the size of my forehead here, the rock that hit, that huge hole in the ground in Nigeria that was caused by an asteroid or a meteor or a meteorite, that rock was this big. It's the size of my forehead, right? So it's Begley with an L-E-Y. Things are going to start happening. He has told us for months, if not for months, that as of April, by the end of next week, so the last 2 weeks in April, all kinds of stuff is going to be whizzing by and maybe hitting the Earth because of this asteroid belt that as we're circling the sun. Something major is supposed to happen April 29th, which is a Sunday, and something major is supposed to happen May 12th, and he will not disclose what it is. Paul Begley has a conference the first weekend in May. It was supposed to be in Indianapolis. He had a limit on how many could come. He is setting up live stream. So if you go to paulbegleyprophecy.com and sign up for his Mega Quake conference, I would highly recommend doing that. I am going to sign up, but I haven't done that yet, and I hope that he won't run out of bandwidth before I get it signed up. But Mike from around the world, Steve Quayle, John Moore, who used to be part of Navy intelligence. What's the name of the other guy who's on? I don't remember the other guy. He's got a couple other people who are going to be on there who are well known. Paul Begley's wife Heidi has a genius IQ, and she's been doing a lot of research. So she'll be doing a presentation with they call it the little green file. It's a flash drive with information from NASA about things that are coming. And then, of course, this planet that comes around every 3,600 years, it's the one that caused the flood in Noah's day. It can cause the sun to stand still, like we had with Joshua. It is on the backside of the sun right now, as far as I know. I've been hearing about this since 2015, and I've been, every time I hear something. When it gets between the sun, right now it has gone, it's way out in outer space. As it has gone behind the sun, when it comes back to go back, sling back into outer space, it is going to block the sun. And so we will have days of darkness until this thing gets away from between our sun and Earth. And with it going dark, expect it to get very cold, because without any sunshine, we don't know what's going to happen. People call it Planet X. People call it Nibiru. People call it Wormwood. It's had a lot of different names. People have called it Planet 9. That could be the 10 Days of Darkness. No, Elly Marzulli is not going to be there. Elly Marzulli was going to do a conference in Ohio where the mounds are near Hebron, Ohio. It's not in Hebron, but near Hebron. But the circle mounds are called, and it's the mound that is the shape of a snake. And the government has said that it was the Indians that built it, and they said there's no way, we did not build it. It was built by the giants. And it is in the shape of a snake. The mouth of the snake there, the mound is open, and then there's also an egg shape, and so it's representing the fact that Satan was expecting to with the seed of the woman. Oops, we lost Elly. Anyhow, he was going to be there and talk. Elly Marzulli was going to be there and talk about that in May. And hang on, Elly. There we go. You know what happened? I didn't do anything.
I didn't either. It was a glitch.
Yep. Anyhow, that's been canceled because of all this, and it's been rescheduled for September. The Steve Quayle's conference in Branson,
July.
I believe, has also been postponed. It was normally in the fall, and it's right now. It has been scheduled for July, and I don't know if they're keeping it in July or if that's being rescheduled. I think it has been, but I'm not. It may have been moved to September again. Yes, Tom Horn has had a lot to say about this. Tom Horn died and went to heaven. He got a lot of information from the Lord about what's coming. He knew that Pope Benedict was going to resign. And so when months passed, and he was supposed to resign in March of years back. And when that didn't happen, he thought, maybe I heard the Lord wrong. But what happened was Benedict resigned, Pope Francis came in, and they didn't announce that Benedict had resigned until after Francis was elected. So then Tom Horn realized that he had been correct. And a lot of the information he had gotten directly from the Lord, he is not allowed to remember until it's time to release the information to the public. So that's been an interesting case. Let's see, what else was I going to tell you guys? I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. I've got a bunch of stuff here in the middle of the living room that I had planned to deliver to my kids, and it never got done. I've been too busy, and so I have to pack it up, take it with me, and mail it. So I have got to get it packed right now. And so, Elly, I'm going to let you take it away. I'm going to put myself on mute and probably take away the camera, and so I'll disappear, but I will still be in split screen so I can hear you while I pack, but you guys won't be disturbed by the noise I'm making. So
we can listen to your noise.
No, you don't need to do that.
No poofing, no.
Come on, Sean. Do you really believe that? Not with the way he cares about things. I don't think so. Anyhow, there. How do we know what's really the truth here? Q and so on are saying that the ship off the coast of the Mercy and the Comfort are off the coast. I've heard that they're there to provide a safe hospital for any deliveries. I've heard that they are trying to find some of the children that have disappeared and have a place for them to be treated and therapy and so on. How are we supposed to know what the truth is anymore? It's just unbelievable. And some of the things that are going on in the UK are awful. There's now a law, I think, in the UK, or at least journalists have been told they are not allowed to talk about any of the dangers of 5G. So anyhow, Okay, here's the other piece that I was wondering yesterday, and I can't remember. We may have thought about it yesterday. I may have mentioned it, but with us going after Venezuela, Larry has talked to us about a proxy war, and it could be that this is a way to fight China because China is taking over so much territory through the Central America and South America, and so this is a way to stop them. Anyhow, so if they've got that, we have had submarines from China and Russia off our coast, circling our country, and if they decide to do something, and it could be that they're cooperating with the CIA. I mean, who do we know? I'm just guessing and throwing total speculation out there. I don't know. But one thing I do know that Larry told us, and this is something that Mike from Around the World said last night on Paul Begley's show, is things are speeding up. Things are speeding up. We are racing to the end at this point. And Larry has told us that there's an event. And he said, pretend that the event is a tennis ball on the end of a string. You're swinging it around your head. The string's real long. It takes a while to go all the way around. You keep it in motion, and then you stop it. You clip off part of the string. Now you have a shorter string. It's going to go faster. And he said the closer you get to the event, the faster time travels. Everything speeds up. And that's what we've got going on. So when we see what's happening, and of course, the government doesn't want to tell people that they're going underground to survive from the asteroids that are coming to hit the Earth. They don't want to admit that, because what are we going to do? Panic? There's no place to go? No, they're just not saying. I absolutely think we're in the last days. The Desert Prophet. He's been on with Jim Baker. He thought the tribulation started in the spring at Passover of 2016, and counting 3.5 years would be the fall of 2020. And, we don't know. We do know that they are waiting for the Messiah to come. We do know that it'll take them only 3 months to put the temple up, because everything's prefabbed. It's ready to go. And we do know that in the middle of the tribulation, the Antichrist, who is a person who is not possessed by a demon, but possessed by Satan himself, will go into the temple and demand worship. And there are rabbis in Israel now saying that the Messiah is coming. He's going to be here soon. Well, they don't realize Jesus was their Messiah, and so they're looking for somebody new. And, there are a lot of people who think that Francis is the false prophet of Revelation. So the government won't charter you home from abroad for a virus. Yep. They're calling everybody home, but I think you'd have to come home on your own nickel, don't you, Gloria? If they're calling everybody home and the State Department's calling everybody home, then that just doesn't bode real well. My ex sister-in-law, she and her family are missionaries in Brazil, and their granddaughter came to visit and help with the school and church and so on, and she's stuck there now because of the virus, so she can't get home. My former niece lives in Hawaii, so Rachel, no, the real Jesus rose from the dead. He is not buried anywhere. All right, well, I'm going to go finish packing this stuff up, because I want it on the truck, because my car is going to be way too full, because I can't put any liquids on the truck. I have to pack anything liquid has to go with me. So my little little itty bitty propane tanks have to go in the car, and my cleaning supplies that I just don't want to, I've got a few new bottles of stuff. So, MW, I think the CEO resignations could be going to their bunkers show. So, yep. Anyhow, enjoy the speculation. Just be ready to meet the Lord. He's coming soon. So, all right, I'm going to go back on mute, and Elly, take it away and watch the time. Let's stop in half an hour, and so before the top of the hour, we'll have a few hours, a couple hours left for the beginning of next week. So,
I'll talk really fast.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, I'm just gonna stay in the room and close it out. I'll be back.
Oh wow, folks. I have been busy. What I did was I got a hold of my MS group and I rallied as many nurses all over the place in the United States. A few over in UK, but UK is a personal thing. And what I'd heard was the numbers are tumbling for the virus in California. So what I did is I got a hold of one in Chico, Sacramento, Stockton, Los Angeles, and San Diego. These are top RN nurses that are in these hospitals. Yes, the numbers are falling. So Newsom was right. Newsom has come forward and said, because he acted early on it, that this is why, they're saving California, which is weird. It is really weird, folks. And they also are saying, the same thing I thought of this morning when I talked on my show about capacity of the hospitals. The other thing I did get a hold of, and I was waiting this afternoon, is I know a lady from TIVA. She's a representative. And my question to TIVA was, I heard there is a vaccine, that they finally found that this chloroquine has been working and that there has possibly been a vaccine. TIVA has now, has said and verified the vaccine is put together and they're going to start making the vaccine by massive amounts. And this is TIVA. TIVA is out of Israel and they're really known for a lot of neurological drugs, medications. They do the MS drugs. That's how I know them. And I did a big conference for them here in Arkansas about 15 years ago. So I've been rallying for nurses. Larry Nichols, from what Mary Ellen said, she got to talk to him, and he's really weak. So then the other thing I was looking into, and I've discussed it with, my brother, is the parallel findings that me and Jason Goodman have on New York. And that's where I'm going to get into the capacity. Now, when Kumo, and I did this morning, was talking about his stats for the hospital, he was claiming that they had needed 56,000 beds, and they had 10,000, close to 10,000 in ICU. Okay, the numbers I actually had found that they're claiming again is 13,000 in the hospital, 3,000 in the ICU, and 7,400 have been discharged. Okay, so what I was looking at is that's when I started calling nurses that I knew in New York. I have one that I know in Upper New York, quite a few in New York City around, New York, and these hospitals. And I also have a friend that went to the doctor recently. So I called them back, and I'm having them snoop around in the hospitals. That's why I cannot tell you who they are. I cannot tell you who these nurses are in fear that they'll get fired. So what they verified to me this morning is between 23 hospitals that are taking in the virus patients. The ICU is maybe looking at around 2,800 actually for all these hospitals. And this is ICU, but they're not critical. They're holding their own, but the pneumonia has set in. There was close to 8,000 that have been discharged. The 13,000 are cases that are known. They have severe symptoms. They're treating them for a few days and letting them go. So, vaccine and antidote, according to TIVA, they have a vaccine. They've done enough testing. It looks like the FDA is FDA passing it with Trump pushing hard. And I think they're going to start making a lot of the vaccine. This is according to a TIVA representative. So what this info that's coming out is way less, okay? Now we've got 2 empty ships. They have got the tent cities. And so one of my friends in Upper New York, she went ahead and decided to take the trip down. And she was looking around the park. She's looking around at different food banks. She's asking a lot of questions to the police officers, the ambulance drivers. And what they're hearing is everybody's really following the order. There's nobody out on the streets. And they're saying it's way less. When she went to the tents, they're treating and releasing. Nobody is in these tents. Hardly. She said she's seen about 20 people on cots. But then when she had went back later, there was about 10 of them. And when she asked, the information she got from the tent guy, or one of the people in there treating these patients, is they sent 2 to the hospital to maybe be admitted and for dehydration and throwing up. So, and the case wasn't really severe, and they had a very low grade temp. So for all this stuff that Cuomo called for, I think he went a little overboard, and I think the fear set into him. Now the capacity of the hospitals. Yes, the news is right. The capacity is full. Now, what is considered full capacity is 50% of the beds being taken. So in the normal, let's say, ward in the hospital, if 50% of their beds are taken, that is full capacity. So, don't let the media get you fearful on this. They're full, but see, by law, they have to keep half their beds empty in case of like 9/11, or let's say a hurricane in some cities where they need them beds. So they are full. And they say the overflow, they have been putting in recovery rooms. And that's where a friend of mine that had got up there and started looking around had seen. But she said there was about 20 beds and about 7 of them were taken. But she also seen ventilators lined up in the hallways. So we know the ventilators have gotten there. The thing is, they're very prepared at this point. And so the morgues, I had another friend check the morgues, and he's not a nurse. He's just somebody that lives up around New York. And they're just not seeing any obituaries on anybody, but they say when they checked with the coroner's office now, that they are behind because of the deaths. So there are a lot of deaths. The coroners are backed up. That's why I wasn't seeing any obituaries for people. So, I mean, this is real, but I don't really think it's as bad as it seems. Now, I'm going to give you Arkansas for an example. I know some people that work in the hospitals here that are snooping around for me. And what they have found is we had a total of 7 in the hospitals. We have 5 hospitals, only 7 are in them. They said over 125 had gotten the virus. Now, out of those 125, only 5 are in the hospitals. So it's way less. So then, okay, I called. Someone asked me about Texas this morning. I called out to Dallas to a nurse I know out there, and even Alabama, and I'll get there. What she told me is the same thing. They're at capacity. And I said, explain capacity. And she also said, but they go to 70%. And she said they are at capacity. They are at capacity of the beds, but they only go in between 60 to 75% on their beds. So now mind you that they are at capacity. So when you hear this on the news, don't let this, don't let them scare you on this. They're not overflowing. They are checking people very quickly. And Texas, Arkansas, San Diego, Cleveland, 2 hospitals in New York, 1 in Chicago. I'm trying to remember all these. Medical sciences hospitals. So we got 1 in your town. All of them are now making sure they test these patients with the chloroquine, and it is working. So, well, I've looked so hard into this, Linda, and I don't know much about medical stuff, pharmaceuticals. It's just I know a lot of nurses from my MS days, and when we look into something with investigator news, we really look into it and we pull all of our strings. And this means a lot to me. And even the stock market. I don't know much about stock markets, but for this, I have really dug deep. I make a lot of phone calls and talk to a lot of people the last few weeks. A lot of not sleeping. So all these medical sciences hospitals. We have one here in Little Rock. There is one Sacramento, UC Davis. There's UC Davis Berkeley. There's also one down in San Diego. They first started the chloroquine on test patients. Then they went on to the worst critical patients and seen if they were willing to do this. They did, and they're having a 90 to a 95% success rate on it. So now, the thing about it is all of these nurses and even talking to the doctors, this is the flu. This is the flu. It is as bad or worse as your swine flu, your N1 flu. Some people, it's going to affect very little. Some people moderately, and some it is deadly. The less immune system, the more likely it's going to hurt you hard. But if we can get this vaccine going, there's a good possibility that we could start catching these critical patients before they do pass. Now, here's something that was put to me by a nurse here. We had a flu that was deadly, right? It started mid-August. And it plagued a lot of us, even me, even Larry Nichols. Larry Nichols caught it, and he caught it hard. I was down for over 2 weeks. Me and my family discussed how long we actually were sick. I found out not just 2 schools were closed in Arkansas, but 4, due to classrooms being almost empty with this flu. It did kill people. They won't let me have the numbers on it for some reason. But there was close to 8,000 people here in Arkansas that had this flu, and it went quick. It went hard, and it was contagious badly. It not only got us, then it spread to Texas, and pretty much all the southern states had caught it by January. Then, for some reason, it was being seen out in California. My big question was to her, could this be it? And she said they are thinking it could be linked. It could be linked, but it's up to the CDC and the World Health Organization to be able to say this was the coronavirus. And if so, it could have been August when it was let into the country here. And if that's the case, when did China get it? You know, the good news is the numbers are falling big time. I've went through and I've looked at all the numbers, and Karen is in the chat, and she knows I read a lot of the stats for it. The numbers have fallen in between, I'm going to say 50 to hundreds of all the stats across the states are now falling for the coronavirus. The vaccines scare me. Mary Ellen says no vaccines. I agree, and I do not believe in baby boosters. I'm against the teenage vaccine or booster. I don't go for those. This vaccine, though, I believe they're going to start it on the critical patients first, which is a good idea. The other good news is China. I went and looked at their webcam today. They're on the streets, but they have their masks. I found out from nurses that even your hankies can be used. So if you've got, if you get handkerchiefs, go buy them. I hope they're not flying off the shelves because you can use them. The good thing is we're not far behind China. And if China are now back on the streets with masks, I believe Trump is right when he said we can release the suburbs. We can release the smaller cities and the suburbs. Iowa hardly has anything for the virus. Neither does Arkansas. Arkansas is ready to go back to work. The virus is down enough that I think we can start pushing the people back into the workforce, back out. And, this is going to help. And Trump said it. The suburbs, the slower cities, they can go back. This is a 15 to an 18-day, it runs. So if you haven't had it in the we've been quarantined, more than likely you're okay. If you have been out and about and been to Walmart and you've been all over town and you're touching things, if you're touching things or close to people, you would still have to wait another almost 14 days. But they are finding that they're letting people go at 8 days. H1N1 was very deadly. So was the swine flu. And so was Ebola. Now, I don't know if anybody heard, today they announced out of Africa in their medical magazines, they feel they've had the last few Ebola cases there, which is good. Let's just hope it don't come here because we have taken in so many from Africa. And they were running. The models, I've watched those models, folks, and they just don't have really good numbers. And all the models does is start putting fears into people. It's not that I don't like Fauci. I just believe Fauci has been part of the Democrats for way too long. And I mentioned this morning on my show that we have had Bloomberg mentioned about euthanasia for older folks. And him, Pelosi, Feinstein, Schumer, Kerry. I mean, you remember the Ukraine, and we found out Kerry and Biden and all of them were over in China. Now it looks like through their investment firms, they'll go through an investment firm to get an investment firm that doesn't tie them to it, or buying into like biological type labs, medical labs, pharmaceuticals. They've been doing this for a while over there in China. My fear is if China did start this as a biological war, there could have been, it could be all these players in the Democratic Party that had done this. They did say they were going to crash the economy. They did say they were going to take Trump down. They have not, with all the lawyers, the best lawyers that the Democrats can buy, didn't find nothing on him. Now, the only thing left to crash this economy is this virus. And I really feel that if we look, and you betcha I'm going to be looking through some documents, I'm going to put my nose to the ground. And if I find out these people are a part of this, you betcha we're going to expose them. World Health Organization has lied to us. China's lied to us. The CDC in ways are not releasing all their information. Now the doctors and nurses, your nurses, your fire department, your police department, all of them are being told, don't talk. And this is verified by Jason Goodman, him out on the streets. They're saying we can't say nothing. We can't say nothing. And I have gotten the same news, but this is out of Washington State. Now get this, Washington and California were the very first states that actually had the virus first and the worst. Their numbers are way down. They're way down. So if they're the example, they're the first, it's only a matter of a week or two before we start moving over. Does the president recommend a vaccine? You know, I don't know. I don't think anybody has really asked him. Now, I did ask the nurses this, and the ones that were RNs and ones that were student doctors, you know, RNs that want to become doctors, so they're, they have a special thing that they're called. And she said, if everybody can just hold off a little bit, let us get the criticals in ICU, CCU, and get them, and then go from the worst case scenarios, then let's see what happens. Because if we put everybody back on the streets, if it's almost like the flu shot. If you get sick and you think it's this, then of course you're going to self-quarantine. You'll get the vaccine, and maybe it'll be cut in, instead of 15 days, maybe 4 or 5. Now this is coming from this lady that's a student doctor, and she really feels that this is the plan. Chris, you're right, the bubonic plague. And you know, a lot of people really don't know this, but down in the desert, Phoenix, well, I'm going to say Arizona, New Mexico, parts of Texas, when they got the bubonic plague about 20 years ago, 22, 25 maybe, they had a serious ration of the bubonic plague from increase of rats. And it was because of the weather that year. I'm not sure, you know, it's been such a long time. And it killed a bunch of people. And I remember them covering the numbers on that. Mandatory vaccine, I think they're going to do it the way this happened. You know, and China has even said, oh, now there's a new strain. That's where I was talking about them scientists going in those caves And you know, when I read that article, and it said they found the coronavirus in this Wuhan bat cave, and there was 3 to 4 other viruses that were worse. I just believed that one of them was going to get out again. Oh, no, no, no. Let's not give up hope. You know, fear will make you sick. Hope and faith. Um, you know, that's what helps. You know, and faith that God's going to take care of this. And you know, God didn't say he was going to end the world with a virus. Neither did Christ. I mean, he told you, you know, of rumors and wars and earthquakes and famines and diseases, but that wasn't it. And I'm not good at pulling scripture out, you know. I did go through a lot of biblical courses, and I just can't remember dates and names and people. But he did. He never said, Christ never said he was going to destroy this world with a virus. He just did. He's not. You know, there's going to be the tribulations, and I believe we're in the middle of tribulation. Have we seen the blood in the water? Yes, over in Africa. Have we seen the weather horrible and earthquakes? Have we seen famine? Yes, the homeless. When you know, and I believe when you translate it, it's worldwide, worldwide, worldwide. Okay, so we're looking at, you know, the blood in the rivers, or disease in the rivers, disease to the fish. The earthquakes, yes, we're having massive earthquakes. And those that watch my show in the mornings, I do earthquake reports. It's very quiet again. I don't like quiet with earthquakes, and they are in diverse places. They're not in the unusual spots. They're not following the regular fault lines. They're following other bigger fault lines. You know, and then, so if we're looking at this being it, I think we're going through the tribulations. And I think, you know, when you look in the book of Daniel, and it talks about the kings and the kings that take over, and the king of the south rises in power, and then the king of the north comes into power. That tells you there is a continuation of the kings. So this virus, and you know the good thing about this, if we can get the suburbs back online in let's say the next 2-3 weeks, you realize the boom in sales that's going to happen. Now you realize when the United States is released to go back, you think everybody's going to sit down and still not spend? You betcha they're going to be at the shopping malls, they're going to be at the movie theater, they're going to be at the casinos, they're going to be taking vacations. There's going to be vacations across the United States in masses. This is what, and the economy is going to boom. And how do I know this? I'm keeping in touch with a lot of economists now, investment firms, and they're all calling me back saying, you know what, this is looking good. You wait, the stock market is just going to go through the roof when everybody's released. Everybody's going to spend money. We're going to have fun. You know, it isn't over yet, folks, but I think this is the time. It's a spiritual war, and I really believe it's time to, you know, get your heart right with God. And I believe we have now realized we cannot trust the stuff from China. We can't trust China. And this also gave Trump, and I'm trying to hurry through this, the time to put the gold backing into the dollar. It was oil fed. We needed the bottom to drop so we could start back in with the gold and the gold standard. And it was about a month ago that it was called the gold boom. And Trump and the economists were saying that the gold was in place. So I'm looking for questions really quick. Oh, excuse me. It's raining here, and I have serious allergies with the rain, and we had severe pollen yesterday. And I'm waiting to get it to where we have the green dust and the yellow dust all over the cars, and I'm gonna scrape it up and show you guys what I go through here. I mean, it's awful. So if you guys got any questions, economy, the virus, Elly does, I'm like Heinz 57 of news. And I have cookies. Well, not on me. And I ate my candy bar I had. So, but if you guys got any questions, because I know Mary Ellen wanted to do 10 till, but the economy is staying stable. And the reason it's staying, just floating back and forth is our manufacturing is a big part of our stock industry. And as long as Walmart and all of them are booming and people are still going and getting groceries and they're still filling up the shelves, manufacturing is going. GM is still going. Ford is still going. I think there was another one too that I don't want to say Nissan. It's one of the other car companies that are now manufacturing a lot of the medical equipment for this. Yes, we need to bring our own labs back. I mean, Johnson and Johnson and quite a few of them. And what caused this was it became so hard for America to be able to make drugs cheaply that they went to other countries. And Trump is right. You can go to another country and the cost of their medications is pennies compared to what hundreds we put into the drugs here. Well, thank you. Thank you. I told my group before this, I do my game group. I said, I looked so very hard into coronavirus and even harder now because I have a friend, one of my sources in the UK has now caught the virus. She said she's feeling better today, which is good. And I'm sending her jokes. I told her that the chickens is now an old story of the chickens crossing the road. And so now I'm going to send ducks across the road to confuse everybody. And she just got a good laugh out of that. And fear is not God. Hate is not God. Faith. You got to keep the faith. And what he say? The mustard seed? You got to have the faith of a mustard seed. If you got to go out and buy a jar of mustard seed and throw a mustard seed in front of you every day, do it. I did it for a year after I'd lost my son to a drunk driver, and it was hard. And so I went out and I got a jar of mustard seed, and I put a mustard seed out in front of me on my table, on paper so I could see it. And I did it in my kitchen. I did it everywhere that I would be. And I kept looking at it. I was like, I just have to have a little faith. I'm going to get through this. And I did. I really did. And when the people cry, God answers. And when we cried for Trump, mind you, folks, there was so much corruption in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000 that we all said the government's corrupt and we need something to come in and stop it. We got him. And he's heaven sent. He's God sent. And when we all pray together as a mass, he hears our cries.
James is asking if some of this stuff is only for the children. We don't know. I think that's a cute thing, and I don't know if it's true. All right, we're at the top of the hour, so I'm just going to say, wrap it up, and remember, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And that's either 1 or 2 Timothy 1:7. The other thing is, remember, fear gives the devil a foothold in your life. Fear comes from Satan. We are told 365 times, do not fear. And the opposite of fear is faith. You just hang on to whatever faith you have. And if you're having trouble with it, make a decision that you will give thanks in everything. 1 Thessalonians 5:18, in everything give thanks. If you give, man, it looked like I didn't have a tooth there. If you give thanks in everything, that gives God room to work in your life because you are praising him. There is power in praise. That's the name of a book, actually, that I would highly recommend. So with that being said, thank you, Elly, for being here and taking over so I can get the rest of this done. They're going to be here for a few more hours, but they've got everything outside, so they are planning to pull out of here tonight and be done. You know, I don't think they're going to be, I'm not having them have boxes out in the driveway. Thank God it's a gorgeous day. It is blue skies. They have chemtrailed, so it may not stay blue for very long. But it was a gorgeous day, and it was warm enough to have the doors open and not worry about it. So thank you for being here, and God bless you. Keep Larry in prayer because he's in a lot of pain and a whole boatload of hurt, and a lot of stuff that's gone on that have him in pretty desperate straits. And how much of his injuries are related to gunshot wounds, I do not know. There certainly is a possibility that there's a correlation, but it wouldn't have been a current one. It would have been from a year ago. But anyhow, keep praying for him, folks. The Lord is answering. I'm going to quote Psalm 118:17. Larry will not die, but live, and he's going to be back with us to declare the works of the Lord. And I'm counting on that. And I was talking to somebody last night about how many times we have prayed him back to life, and I've been doing it on a routine basis for quite a while, since 2016, so multiple times. And 12 of us got together on the phone the last time when they couldn't bring him back. So yeah, the digital dollar and petrodollar is based on oil.
That's what I was talking about.
The digital dollar is digital currency, and they're wanting to have everything based on what's in your hand or your forehead. And Larry got the flu, David. Larry got the flu really, really badly. He's had pneumonia twice since Christmas with it, and he's had a whole bunch of stuff, internal bleeding, and things are broken, and he's in a mess of hurt. And so because of how serious his injuries are, I knew it would be at least 2 months, and we're hitting that 2-month mark at this point, and it'll probably be another month or two. He's got a long way still to go. So keep him in prayer. Keep him in prayer. That's what he needs. So we're at the top of the hour. So thanks for being here. We'll talk on Monday. God bless you. And I'd appreciate prayer for safe travel. Okay, bye. You can come on in.